G'day Spurs fans, Paul Hotspur hippie here, the only psychedelic soccer show on the internet. I'm in a bit of maybe a windy spot. I don't know if this video will turn out any good, but I hope you're all well out there. Look, I've been thinking as I've been driving around today, what would it take for me to think a change of manager is worth it? And it's an interesting question, I think, because I'm usually really fiercely loyal to every manager that Spurs have had, but you know, everyone's got their point. I think a lot of people in the Spurs fan base drew their conclusions immediately and have been agitated from the get-go, but hey, look, there's always a point, isn't there? And I think for me, there's a couple of conditions on it, of course. I think one is the board, Enoch and Levy, have to get some players in January. If we don't get any players in January, then you know what I'm going to say might change a bit. It might not. It might not. You know, because I don't know when injured players are coming back. I'm just trying to get a bit more shelter here. I don't know when injured players are coming back. But if we get, say, one or two, maybe two players in, that should be enough for us to progress in some of the cups. And so, like, the league is whatever it is this year. I think for me, if we the Liverpool Carabao Cup semi-final, the Carabao Cup is always the lowest cup I get excited about. That's just the way it's always been since I was a kid. I understand, you know, people are excited about that, and for many Spurs fans it's the only, you know, taste of glory we've had. So I don't want to diminish that, and also I don't want to diminish our fine wins in 71 and 73 either. But just for me, I'll probably get excited nearer the time. I think there's a chance we could beat Liverpool. I mean, back in the day, Spurs used to do pretty well, especially in Europe, because over two legs, home and away, Tottenham could beat anyone. Whether that's the case at the moment, I'm not sure. So if we exited the Carabao Cup to Liverpool, that would be disappointing. That wouldn't be the be-all and end-all for me. We start getting to the be-all and end-all for me, and again, this is provided we've bought some players, because if it's the way it is now, we've got no players back, this might change. The first one would be, I think, losing to both Elfsberg and Hoffenheim, losing those two games, and possibly, you know, facing another couple of games in the Europa League, which there's no guarantee you're gonna get through that. So primarily Elfsberg, I think, is an easier game than Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim could be dicey. But if we lose both those games and jeopardise our Europa place, I'm going to be scratching my head a bit. But the real one for me, the big one, and this is whether we've got transfers or not. This is pretty unconditional, I think, for me. If we lose against Tamworth in the FA Cup, I think that would be enough of a signal for me, because that doesn't matter who we've got in this. You know, I remember one of the worst games I went to as a Spurs fan, and it was away in 1988 in the FA Cup, and we played Port Vale and we lost 2-1, and Terry Venables hadn't been in the job too long. The team had been kind of decimated. You know, a lot of players had left at the end of the previous season, and we were absolutely crap, and that was absolutely horrible. There were no real cries for change of Venables, you know, or anything like that. It was very disappointing being such a bad performance, though. But that was Port Vale, division. I think they were Division 3 at the time, so two divisions below us. Tamworth, on the other hand, I think are they in the Northern League? So that's one below the conference, or whatever it's called, the National League. So it's like Division 6. It doesn't matter if we've got Yves Bissouma in goal. Anyway, we should be able to field any team and beat Tamworth. So if that fails, then I'd say Ange has failed for sure. So, you know, I know a lot of people think out there that I'm an Ange fanatic and it's because I'm Australian. No, as I've consistently said, I support every manager of the club. The reason why I was so keen on Ange is because I've seen a lot more of him than many people out there, and I thought he was a good guy. And look, I think he's a good guy. I don't want to say past tense yet, but there's no doubt if we stuff up against Tamworth, then that means we haven't got rid of this bullshit stuff that happens at Spurs, that it's an echo of results like NS Mura, Dinamo Zagreb, and not that I'm saying a manager is necessarily capable of fixing that. It could be something else at Spurs, but that's the only thing we could really change in the short term. And I think Ange would definitely have to go if we lost it against Tamworth. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, but I'm just telling you people out there that I do have a bottom line, and that's it. As for the, like I say, the other results, sorry, I did the first part of the video a while ago, I can't quite remember what I said. It depends on what transfers come in. But that could make me wobble a bit as well, particularly with news, and I've forgotten the guy's name, the Besiktas manager is apparently on the sidelines. Hey, look, I don't know too much about him, but he seems to have had some success with Dortmund. Could be a good candidate, I'm open to that, and I don't think it's a bad idea to have, given the way things are currently at Spurs, to have a contingency plan to look around and say, look, if this doesn't work out, we've got to have a backup, because that's something we didn't have at the end of Conte's reign, and we were mucking around for months with Stellini, then Ryan Mason. And I was amazed how quickly we got off and running when Ange started, but since then, yeah, it has been disappointing for one reason or another, and I think a lot of that is outside Ange's control, but he is the manager, he is ultimately responsible, and football is harsh, it's a results-based game, and if you don't get the results, then you got to go. So like I say, I don't think any of this will happen at all, and I think Ange will turn it around. But if he don't, he don't. And some of you may be surprised out there, if that does happen and we get a new manager, that I'll still be here on my channel, because a lot of you think, oh, he's going to go when Ange goes. I was here way before some of you lot, and I'll be here well after. But I want Spurs to turn it around. I don't know if the manager can change it, but we've got to try something different. I think there's a whole load of other things at Tottenham that makes us a bit weak in certain games, and I mean, some of it must be the ownership, but I mean, I always go back to the comfortable surroundings, the training facility, the health spa atmosphere, the celebrity sort of, I don't think it makes players hungry, and I think it makes players a little bit entitled, and it makes them think that they've won games before they've even stepped on the pitch. And in football, you can't do that. You're going to get your arse kicked. That's what happened to us against Ipswich, I think. I think we had the attitude we were doing all right. It's an easy game, this. No, it don't work in football. And if we have that attitude at Tamworth, that's down on Ange, man. That is absolutely down on Ange. If we go out to the FA Cup early against Tamworth, Ange has to go. Has to go. The other games, like I say, conditional, depends if we get reinforcements in, that kind of thing. Liverpool home and away, I think we can do it. If we don't, given the circumstances we're in, if no transfers come in, possible. It depends on the level of performance for me, but no, I'm always Tottenham first, man. And look, all this is academic. I still believe Ange will turn it around. In Ange we trust. And if he I'm sure if it don't work out at Spurs and he goes somewhere else, he's going to have success like every other bloody manager we've had. And that'll just show people that he actually is a good manager. But as far as Tottenham goes, he's yet to prove it. And I hope he does. I hope he does. So there you go, man. Peace and love, and come on, you Spurs.